Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. And can I say it's a pleasure to follow the Chair of the Select Committee, who, although we are on different political sides on these issues, we are in complete agreement on the committee. Last week, we debated the cultural and entertainment sectors, and I made a few points which I thought the government could act on with the budget. The first related to the plight of freelance musicians and artists and others excluded from the Chancellor's criteria for support. I pointed out that in Wales, some funds have been able to be set aside for support, but what was really needed was action across the UK from the Chancellor. In this budget, the Chancellor has done the very minimum in simply recognising that it has been so long for some of the excluded, i.e. the newer self-employed, that they've now become eligible for the self-employed income support scheme. But he's done nothing to support those excluded by his own arbitrary criteria. He has decided they're to be treated as second-class citizens. It's deliberate, it's unjust, and it will not be forgotten by musicians, artists, and others who've been snubbed in this way. The second point was the need to help to restart the live music sector, which the Select Committee Chair also referred to, with a government-backed insurance scheme. Our Select Committee, the DCMS Select Committee, wrote to the Chancellor to call for this, and the response from the government is a classic example of blinkered Treasury thinking. The insurance market cannot provide the cover needed for festivals because of COVID uncertainty. The government says it has an irreversible plan for reopening. It could underwrite a scheme which would mean it was not only showing confidence in live music, but in its own pronouncements. It would never have to pay out anything if its own words turned out to be true. Other countries have done this with much lower vaccine rollout rates. And of course, it's been done for film and television. For the want of a tent peg, many festivals will have to be collapsed this summer. That's a second failure of policy and action by the Chancellor. And as the Select Committee Chair pointed out, there are no opportunities for the scammers, the outlaw companies like Viagogo and so on to take advantage by ripping off people once again who want to buy tickets for events that might never happen and might never exist. Thirdly, the Chancellor should have announced a scheme to ensure musicians and artists could resume touring in EU countries. And I note the launch of the Carry On Touring campaign website today. On social media today, I saw a case of someone called Ed Lyon, a classical musician who's just spent 6 weeks and £945 to obtain a work permit for Belgium. Previously, in normal times, he could have just hopped on a train. The Chancellor is utterly complacent about the loss of export earnings to the UK that this continuing fiasco will bring. Lord Frost is now his cabinet colleague. Why isn't he being told to do the job he so abjectly failed to do in December when he delivered a no-deal Brexit for artists, musicians, and their ancillary support industries? This budget, despite some investment, didn't do nearly enough to save jobs and support growth in the creative industries, the sectors with the fastest growth potential. It's left freelance workers out in the cold. It's thrown a summer of music into a muddy field of uncertainty, and it's closed the gate on touring for our creative artists and musicians. Far from doing whatever it takes, it's taken away the opportunity to create.